Hey everyone, Stand Up Gamer here again with another vlog. In today's vlog, my main goal is to take these RAM heat spreaders that have RGB built in, and I need to get rid of this black anodize that's on this aluminum. And that's why you see me already wearing my overalls. You can see it slightly. I've got my full face mask over back here, and I have some gloves because today I'm going to be using this stuff. Basically, the main ingredient inside it is lye, and that's what's going to hopefully get rid of this black anodization off the RAM heat sinks. And it's very, very caustic. But first things first, I need to disassemble the RAM because in the future what I'll be doing is transferring these heat spreaders onto this different RAM that I'll be using for this future build. Luckily, disassembling this RAM isn't that hard. All you really need is a Phillips screwdriver, and there are 2 screws you need to remove in order to remove the heat spreaders. So 1 screw, and they simply come apart. Well, they used to simply come apart. Maybe the thermal tape, or sorry, the thermal pads have kind of caked on a little harder. But that is the first half off, and then we'll just take off the other half. Well, I'm trying to take off the other half. I'm not really sure why it's fighting me. Oh, there it goes. Hopefully the RAM is still good, but yeah, there's the RAM all naked. I do need to remove the actual RGB off the RAM. So go ahead and do that. It just comes off. They just sit on these 2 posts. So that's off, and I might as well disassemble the other one too. That way I can have all these cables out of the way. With the heat spreaders off, I'm going to go ahead and take away these RGB. I'm going to try and salvage these thermal pads. And to do that, I'm just going to take some static plastic along with a scraper to scrape off the heat spreaders so that we can then keep it intact on this paper. But maybe it'll work with tweezers. Let's find out. Alright, I think it might just work with tweezers. So that's 1 heat spreader, kind of good to go. Alright, so the thermal pads have been taken off, and I'll put them to the side for now. And I do see these little stickers on here, so I'm going to remove those. I'm assuming they'll come off easily considering they're kind of saturated in oil. And they seem to be peeling off. Oh, I spoke too soon. It did not peel off very well. It started off looking pretty good, but did not continue. Maybe I'll be slower. Even slower. We've got the sticker off, and we've got 1 more sticker to take off. So again, it is quite saturated in whatever liquid or oil is on those thermal pads, so it has been properly soaking for a while. So nice and slow. And now we have the heat spreaders ready for their bath inside the lye solution. And I'm actually going to be doing that outside because I don't want to do it inside my garage. I actually don't know how poisonous it is, so that's why I'm taking precautions. So I'm going to go transfer the recording material outside and continue it out there. Now I'm outside. You can probably hear the raindrops. Well, they're actually rain coming off my gutter. But I have a container filled with about 4 cups of reverse osmosis water from my water filter. And then I have about a cup each of just normal water in a cup. Before I do anything, I will be putting on some gloves on my hands. Now that I have my gloves on, I'm also going to put on my mask. So it's going to be hard to hear me. And so what I'll do is I'll just explain what's going to happen before I put on my mask. So in this container, I'm going to put about 4 tablespoons of the lye powder. And that's where we're going to be dumping the RAM heat spreaders to hopefully remove the anodization. And then in this cup over here, I'm going to be putting in some baking soda so that when I'm done doing the anodized removal, I can then stop the reaction in the baking soda water. And then this is going to be just normal water to rinse off that baking soda water. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my mask now and just film myself doing all this. Over here I just have some normal baking soda and I'll be dumping it inside here. Now I have this depth sodium hydroxide. I expected the RAM to start bubbling immediately I dunked it in the solution. I did not really get that. I was kind of disappointed. I really wanted to see like bubbling, like super caustic, but I was just left with this reaction. I got a little impatient and decided to stir around the solution with this plastic spoon, hoping that we can get some more like coverage or agitation in the solution. Not really sure how much it helped. I think the solution was pretty mixed well. In less than 5 minutes, I came back to the solution bath with the heat spreaders in there, and this is how it looked like. So there was definitely a lot more leaching of whatever anodized color that was in there compared to when I left it. But you'll notice that there is still, I feel like, more time that could have been used to keep it in the solution, because some parts were still pretty dark, while other parts like this looked a lot better. I left the heat spreaders in there for another 3 minutes or so I can grab this plastic bristle brush, and I thought maybe it might help to agitate the rest of the anodize or dye off the actual heat spreaders. In all honesty, it was kind of a waste of time. I don't think there was much of a difference after hitting it with the scrubber. And if there was a difference, it was so small that I think rinsing it off might have gotten it off anyways. After scrubbing the heat spreaders, I dunk it in the baking soda and water solution to hopefully stop the reaction happening. I then go ahead and dump it inside the water cup so that we can kind of rinse off the baking soda.
I was about to call it good, but I decided to give it another go, and so I refilled the little bucket full of water, and this time I added about 3 tablespoons of the lye, and thought I'd give it another round to see if I can get the rest of that residual anodize off. So I let it sit for another 3 minutes, and in all honesty, I didn't really see much difference, so I decided to just kind of give them one little final scrub, dilute it inside the baking soda and water solution, and then dunk it in the pure water to kind of rinse it off. I was really hoping that it would come out much cleaner, but I think I can do better by cleaning off the parts more vigorously. So maybe I should have degreased it, maybe even hit it with some Scotch-Brite. I'm not quite sure. I might have gone for another round of soaking the heat spreaders in the solution, but a rainstorm came and I got soaked to the bone. My underwear was dripping, so I stopped.
Off camera, I got a little excited and assembled parts together already. Just to kind of see how I felt about it, because a part of me still wants to do another round to try to get off the very last remaining bits of anodize that did not come off. For instance, there's a lot of blotchy places over here. However, once I install it, the actual only side we'll be seeing is this, which is fairly clean in my opinion. For reference, this is the other side. The side with that little branding came up pretty good. There is some little blotchiness right over here. The back side is just really bad, but I think in the future, if I were to do this again, I would definitely go ahead and try to clean these pieces as much as I can, degreasing, maybe even giving it a light sanding, because I think wherever there was oils or dirt, the anodize did not want to come off, and that's very evident on the other side. So remember, this is where the thermal pad was, and the thermal pad is soaked with a material or liquid that's supposed to help the heat transfer with the foam material, and it likely has seeped into the metal. And so I think if I were to do it again, I'd probably scrub the living crap out of this part here, maybe take a wire brush to it before I dip it. And same goes for this other side too. So you'll notice that a lot of parts were missing. Yeah, so I don't think I'll do another round. I think I'm happy with the way it came out now. And let me just go ahead and install the RAM again. I've laid out the RAM parts here because this is how it's going to go back together. And the first thing I need to do is just reapply the thermal pads that I took off. Nothing to it. Let me go ahead and align the RGB strip if I can find the hole, and then I'll know how far the RAM can go up. Then I will take the other side of the thermal tape or thermal pads and lay it over the RAM chips, and go ahead and put the other side of the heat spreader on. Instead of using the stock black hardware, I'm opting to use some silver screws instead. have the camera at a weird angle because I'm kind of naked right now because I just took off my overalls that were like soaked. But yeah, so here's the RAM module all put back together again. And again, this is the side that we won't be seeing anyways, so I think it turned out pretty well. And this is the motherboard it's going to be going on to. It's a cheapo little China ITX board, but the RAM is installed. Obviously, like I said, you really won't see the other side of this, so it's nice that the blotchy areas are not on that side. They're all on this side. And even then, it's quite hard to see how blotchy it is, but overall, happy with the Anodize removal, because now we are getting closer and closer to finishing off this all white build. Obviously, it's not all white. The RAM slots and other slots are black, but close enough. And it's nice that we have the RGB to kind of play around with too. But if you liked watching this little mod, I have a bunch of mods coming up, so make sure that you're subscribed. And if you like this particular mod, give it a like if you do like it. And if you want to see more sneak peek stuff beyond what I'm showing in these vlogs, I have a Patreon, which I'll link down below, and you can see more cool stuff there. I think it's cool, at least. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.